Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
I'm Sonali Wanigabavage. Now, while the draft 19th Amendment to the Constitution has been tabled in Parliament, it continues to court controversy both inside and outside the House of Legislature.
Will the respective parties reach a final agreement on the structure of the amendment?
We'll have all their views coming up later on in the news, but first, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
President Maithripala Sirisena heads to China on a 4-day state visit. Basil Rajapaksa needs to be questioned in connection with irregularities over Divinaguma. Police seek Attorney General's advice. 3 petitions filed at Supreme Court against 19th Amendment. Ban imposed again. Full-face helmet prohibition to come into effect on the 2nd of April.
President Maithripala Sirisena left for China this afternoon, commencing a 4-day state visit on the invitation of the President of China, Xi Jinping.
The President, along with many other world leaders, is scheduled to attend the Bao Forum for Asia Annual Conference 2015, which will be held in Bao, Hainan Province from March 26th to the 29th, where President Sirisena will address the summit on the 28th. President Sirisena is to speak to the international community on Sri Lanka's development and economic program. According to the President's media division, during his stay in China, President Maithripala Sirisena is expected to hold bilateral discussions with his Chinese counterpart, as well as the Prime Minister and senior government officials. President Sirisena is to also hold bilateral discussions with the Executive Committee Chairman of the China National People's Congress.
The Deputy Director General of the Global Cooperation Department of the China Development Bank says that China's interest rates are lower than bond rates in Sri Lanka. He made this statement subsequent to a question raised in relation to allegations made with regard to China providing loans at high interest rates for several development projects in Sri Lanka.
We actually started issuing loans to Sri Lanka in 2009, and if you compare interest rates to the interest rates of Sri Lanka's international treasury bond, it is much smaller than your government's bonds. As we can see, it is 7.4% in 2009 and 6 to 6.25% in later years, so our interest rates are lower than the government's bond rates. Loans issued by the Sri Lanka government are based on the agreement risk and as per the need of the Sri Lankan government. The decision strictly follows the loans procedures of Sri Lanka, including the approval of the Cabinet and the Attorney General. I think there should be no difference between the current government and the former government.
The police says that former Minister Basil Rajapaksa needs to be questioned in connection with alleged irregularities at the Divinaguma department. At a media briefing held today, police media spokesperson noted that the advice has been sought from the Attorney General on bringing the former minister, who is currently overseas, back to the country in order to question him.
Divinaguma paritoshita mudal akramikatavaya.
It is an irregularity with the Divinaguma Gratuity Fund and expenses of the Divinaguma department during the concluded presidential election. There is an incident where the Divinaguma department spent more than 70 million rupees for a certain convention. Investigations are underway into several such irregularities at the Divinaguma department. The former Director General of Divinaguma, Ranavaka, has been summoned and a statement was recorded. He had stated clearly that they had to spend this money and carry out these transactions in line with the orders of the then Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa. Thereby, it is necessary to record a statement from Minister Basil Rajapaksa to take the investigation forward. The Financial Crimes Division has taken steps to seek the Attorney General's advice and obtain the permission of court to bring him back to Sri Lanka and obtain a statement.
මූල්‍ය අපරාධ විමර්ශන කොට්ටාසය විසින් කටයුතු සැලසුම් කරගෙන යනවා.
In your developing story tonight, 3 petitions were filed at the Supreme Court today against the draft 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The petitions were filed by senior lawyer Gomin Dayasiri, attorney at law Uday Gamanpilla and LIP Pereira.
The petition filed with the Supreme Court cited that a public referendum is required in order to pass the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The petition filed by Uday Gamanpilla reads that he opposes Section 1 to 54 in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, and it needs to be passed by a 2/3 majority in Parliament and a public referendum. Senior lawyer Gomin Dayasiri points out that Section 70 33 and 14A are in violation of the Constitution. He also requests the abolition of the power vested with the President to dissolve Parliament after a year since a general election is held.
SLFP General Secretary Anura Priyadarshana says that as the main party in the UPFA, the SLFP is able to decide to join the national government. At a media briefing held today, the SLFP also clarified its stance on the draft amendment to the Constitution.
The SLFP has never been of the stance that the executive presidency should be abolished completely. We are of the view that he who has been elected as a president should be able to enjoy a certain amount of power as the executive president. If we implement only the amendments to the constitution without reforming the electoral system, there is a possibility that there will be instability in the country. To avoid this instability, there is a requirement for the amendments to the constitution and to the electoral system. It has been proposed that mixed electoral reform, that is a combination of the first past the post system and the proportional representation system, be introduced. There are 225 MPs in Parliament. There has been a proposal made to increase that number to 250. Our party is not against it.
What we want to say is introduce the electoral reform as the 20th amendment to the Constitution. The Elections Commissioner has announced that both amendments can be completed in a short period of time. Therefore, Parliament does not need to take an entire year. Therefore, we have no objection in Parliament completing this time period and be dissolved the next day. At this moment, only the SLFP has held discussions. That does not mean that we will not be discussing anything with the other parties. As the SLFP is the prominent party in the alliance, there is no issue in the SLFP making decisions. A majority in the opposition are with us. What we say is that the post of opposition leader should lie with us. The Speaker will provide a decision.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna says that opposing the 19th Amendment is an opposition to the people's mandate. These views were expressed by the party's General Secretary Tilvin Silva at a media briefing convened today.
විධායක ජනාධිපති දුරය මුළුමනින්ම අහෝසි කරන්න බැරි නම් එහි බලතල විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක්.
If the executive presidency cannot be abolished completely, we must still agree to a change in the autocratic nature of the executive presidency by reducing a large portion of its powers. We had no intention of completely abolishing the executive presidency and then handing those powers down to the Prime Minister. It is the objective of Nimal Siripala de Silva's clan to continue with their majority in Parliament for as long as possible, even if it means avoiding the passing of the 19th Amendment or at least delaying it, and through that avoiding or delaying the upcoming election. The 19th Amendments and the electoral system must be reformed together, because if they are not reformed together, Nimal Siripala de Silva has said that they will not pass it in Parliament. Even Minister Champika Ranawaka of the JHU has spoken on this matter being influenced. When the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa brought in the 18th Amendment, partly Champika raised his hand like an obedient child in Montessori without any opposition or speaking a word about democracy. And now, at a time when he is trying to be against the 19th Amendment, which was a request of the people, we begin to wonder, who does partly Champika Ranawaka represent? Opposing the reforms to the 19th Amendment means that they are opposing the people's mandate given on the 8th of January.
Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga says that constitutional amendments are taking place as promised to the people. She made this comment speaking at an event in Gampaha today.
Another phase of providing nutritious food packs to pregnant mothers took place in Gampaha today. State Minister of Child Affairs Rosi Senanaika was also present at this event.
If all the main political parties come together and engage in governance, what one person does cannot be changed by another. If we can maintain this environment for another 20 years so that this will be established, no matter who is elected afterwards, nothing can be changed. We need your support and understanding for us to forge ahead with this program.
Journalists also questioned the former president on constitutional amendments.
There's no issue with the constitution. Although certain persons are against this in order for them to maintain their power, the entire country is in favour of this. We have made a promise and we will keep it up.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says it is his hope to transform Parliament in its entirety into a government. The Prime Minister was speaking at an event held at Temple Trees today.
An event to distribute motorcycles to public officials sponsored by the Minister of Public Administration was held at Temple Trees under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
There are three stages. How do we work together? I accept that work is not happening 100% the way we expected it to happen. But the fact that we have come to this position is a major accomplishment. This is a new beginning after 1947 and 51. If we can work together in these few months, that alone will be enough. Nothing else matters. All the concessions that are to be given will be given, and all of this will be concluded by the 23rd of April. This is a rehearsal of how we are going to work together after a parliamentary election is held. I want to turn the entire parliament into a government. Mahinda Rajapaksa, the former president, challenges us and asks why we have stopped the projects that were initiated. I am able to remind the former president that all the clean projects will go ahead. But since more than 80% of those projects were corrupt, we have put a stop to the era where the taxpayers' money went into other people's pockets and are bringing about an era where that money comes to your pockets. There will be an election for you come June. I believe that we can bring forth a constitution that can be accepted by all. We went before the people and said that all of the destructive powers vested in the position of the executive president will be removed. We said before the people that a government led by a prime minister accountable to parliament will be established.
You're watching News First. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa visited the Abhayarama temple again today, where he met with several local government representatives from the Sabaragamuwa province.
The former president commented about his security detail to the media, who were also present at the Abhayarama temple.
There is a court decision limited only to that person. If I go to the courts, it will be limited to me. But it is not for me. Madam Chandrika also went there, but she received a final decision. If I go there, I will get one too. However, there is an act now. Keep that all aside. Won't the police provide protection if a normal person is facing a problem? South Fonseca has 110 in his security detail. The people who I have don't even have vehicles. That is the problem. I won't deny it. It was given by the Prime Minister and the President. They have discussed and had approved it through the Security Council as well. All their vehicles and the fuel were taken away.
එතුමාගේ ලේකම්වරයා ලලිත් වීරතුංග මහත්මයාම අත්සන් කරලා ලබා දෙගෙන තියෙනවා අධිආරක්ෂක මෝටර් රථ දෙකයි. ඩමි මෝටර් රථ එකයි.
His secretary Lalit Veeratunga signed to obtain it. He has 2 high security cars, 1 dummy car, 1 Defender, 1 Toyota Land Cruiser and 1 cab. Altogether there are 6 vehicles. He has 2 bulletproof cars. The former lady president was given only 1, but it was returned, saying that it cannot be used. That's why it is said that she has 2. In addition to this, 108 army personnel and 105 police personnel have been appointed for his security detail. That is a squad of 213 security personnel. 2 double cabs, 8 motorbikes, 2 buses and 1 Land Cruiser were granted for their transportation. That's 21 vehicles. But according to the Supreme Court decision, only 3 vehicles can be allocated for his security detail. The person who was defeated asks for more rights than people who retired. He was rejected by the people.
JR ජයවර්ධන ජනාධිපතිතුමා විශ්‍රාම ගියා. ප්‍රේමදාස ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඝාතනය කෙරුවා.
President J.R. Jayawardena retired. President Premadasa was assassinated. President Wijayatunga also retired, as did Madam Chandrika. Mahinda Rajapaksa lost. That's the difference. The person who lost normally gets less than the person who retired. My opinion is that Mahinda Rajapaksa is receiving more benefits through this government. Not only were vehicles taken away, some were even stolen. The CID is still looking for those vehicles.
ආරක්ෂාව විතරක් නෙවෙයි වාහන ගෙනිච්ච විතර නෙවෙයි වාහන හොරකම් කරගෙනත් ගියා. වාහන තාම හොයනවා CID කින් තව වාහන කොයිද තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
Meanwhile, journalists questioned the party Secretary General about Mahinda Rajapaksa's role in the SLFP at a media briefing held today.
එතුමා අපේ පක්ෂයේ අනුශාසකවරයෙක්. හිටපු ජනාධිපති.
He is a patron of our party. Former President Chandrika Kumaratunga is also one of our patrons. According to our party constitution, our patrons are also members of the advisory council. They have the opportunity to advise the central committee of the party. There is no issue in acting within the party on that basis. However, the party is led by the current president, Maithripala Sirisena.
කටයුතු කිරීමේ කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. අද නමුත් මේ පක්ෂය අද මෙහෙවන්නේ වර්තමාන ජනාධිපති මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමා.
An event to present funds under the Samata 7 5,000 houses program took place in Kurunegala today. The event was held under the auspices of Sajith Premadasa, the Minister of Housing and Samurdhi.
Housing beneficiaries in the Kurunegala and Puttalam districts under the Samata 7 50,000 houses program were presented with funds today. The construction of 50,000 houses under the initiative of Minister Sajith Premadasa in line with the 100 days program is currently underway. 300 houses are expected to be constructed in every electorate under this program.
Some question me over the national government and ask if it is possible to work together with members of different parties. I have that capability. The secretary to the ministry is the same who was there during the tenure of Vimal Weerawansa. I did not sideline anyone.
The police say that motorcyclists will be prohibited from wearing full-face helmets with effect from the 2nd of April. The police notes that those who violate this law will be subjected to a fine.
The police were to implement the ban on the use of full-face helmets with effect from the 21st of this month. However, Minister of Public Order John Amaratunga said that the implementation of the ban will be temporarily suspended after taking consideration the requests in this regard. However, a decision has been made to enforce the law.
As approved, those who do not wear a safety helmet, may it be the rider of the motorcycle or the pillion rider, will be subjected to a 500 rupee fine. This is clearly mentioned in the Increase of Fines Act. I would like to further point out in this act that a visor could be worn. In the government's special gazette notice of the 11th of January 1991, it states that this visor should be transparent.
Two protests were staged in Colombo today, citing various demands and grievances.
Several representatives from a number of bus companies, including the Interprovincial Private Bus Company, staged a protest opposite the Minister of Internal Transport in Maradana today. They demanded that a unified timetable be implemented with immediate effect. The following footage shows what transpired when a group including the Transport Director of the National Transport Commission, Vipulaheva Valimuni, were leaving the ministry. Even though police who arrived at the scene requested the protesters to allow the group to exit the premises, the protesters did not obey the police orders. Once again, a group of protesters entered the ministry in order to hold discussions. The Lanka Teachers Services Union engaged in a protest in Kopiti today, demanding that the interim administrative board of the education cooperative be removed. They charge that the arbitrary appointment of members cannot be accepted under any circumstance. Even though the protesters attempted to march towards the Prime Minister's office, they were barred by the police. Later on, while the group carried out the protest near the Prime Minister's office, two members were summoned inside.
අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා සමග සාකච්ඡාවක් ආරම්භ දීමට ඔහුගේ පැත්තෙන් එකඟ වුණා. ඒ අනුව
The Sri Lanka Army has declared a general amnesty period to soldiers who had gone AWOL or absent without official leave under the directives of the President. Major General Mahinda Haturu Singha elaborated on this at a media briefing convened today at the Ministry of Defence.
As soldiers who had gone absent without official leave were seeking a relief, the president had instructed the army commander to declare a general amnesty and that necessary prerequisites be made. The amnesty period would be from the 2nd of April to the 16th of April. Deserters who had not reported to work for more than 3 months without authorized leave would be legally dismissed from service during this general amnesty period. This can be done by visiting their respective regiments.
The 9th Mako Awards, organised by the Sri Lanka Mass Communication Association, was held in Colombo recently.
Awards were presented at the event to persons identified as having contributed to the progress of the motherland in various professions. Newsfirst too received awards at the ceremony in the fields of TV and radio. One of our staff members accepted an award on behalf of Yasarat Kamalsiri, Director General Manager of Newsfirst. Sripal Wanyarachi, an editor at Sirasa FM and Newsfirst Parliament correspondent, also received an award. Sirasa FM journalist Priyanka Disanayaka also received an award at the event.
Leader of the Janasetta Peramuna, Venerable Batramulle Seelaratna Thera, says that he is to leave to Singapore to pay his last respects to Singapore's founding father Lee Kuan Yew, who passed away on Monday.
Singapore's former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, who transformed Singapore into one of the most developed countries, passed away. His funeral is to be held on Sunday, and I will leave the country today in order to pay my respects to the late leader. I would also like to say that it is essential that we incorporate a country like Singapore with our country. My fellow associates in Singapore have invited me for this occasion, so I will be leaving the island today to pay my last respects.
The 31st Government Krida program organised by Sports First was held at the Uraboka National School in Mathura today. The Government Krida program organised by Sports First under the theme From Us to the Village and From the Village to the Nation was held with the sponsorship of the Mathura Samadhi Community Development Foundation. UNP Mathura District MP Buddhika Pathirana participated at the event as the chief guest. Training camps were held at the event with the participation of national and international level coaches. The Gamada Krida program featured sports including athletics, cricket, volleyball, netball, boxing and kabaddi. A workshop was also held for budding sportsmen and women.
And that wraps up Prime Time News for Wednesday night. If you missed out on any of the stories we had tonight, you can log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Sonali Banikabadage.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.